From the moment I first met Rich Mill, I knew she didn't like me. It wasn't subtle, it was in the way she looked at me, the way her smile never reached her eyes, and the way she seemed to take pleasure in putting me down. One of the worst things she ever did was during a party she threw. She called me her housemate in front of all her friends and filmed it, later posting it online to humiliate me. I still remember the sting, the burning shame, and the feeling of everyone staring, whispering and laughing. Hello, I refer to my husband as Harry and my mother-in-law as Olivia. I'm 28 years old, and I've been married to Harry for just over 2 years. Harry is also 28. We first became friends in college, bonding over classes, shared interests, and mutual laughter, though we didn't start dating until after graduation. A few years later, we met again at a friend's party, and somehow, everything clicked. We've been inseparable ever since, nearly 4 years together now, counting our time as a married couple. I love Harry deeply and have never regretted marrying him. But loving Harry doesn't make it any easier to deal with Olivia. Olivia raised Harry on her own, as a single mother, which is admirable. She built a life from scratch, running her business with determination and intelligence. But she is also cold, arrogant, and judgmental. From the very first moment we met, she made it clear that she didn't approve of me. I suspect it's because of where I come from. My family wasn't rich. My dad was a janitor, my mom worked odd jobs, and together they raised me and my 3 sisters on very little. We grew up poor, but we never felt ashamed of it. My parents worked hard, were honest, and taught us to be proud of ourselves, no matter what anyone else thought. Olivia, however, sees the world differently. The first time we had dinner together, I casually mentioned my dad's job and my mom's side work, and I saw her face twist in subtle disgust. From that day, she made her distance known. She never said it directly, but she acted as if I were beneath her. At family dinners, she placed me at the corner of the table, using different silverware, cheaper plates, and sometimes even serving me last. I initially brushed it off, convincing myself I was overthinking, not wanting to cause unnecessary drama. But over time, her behavior became impossible to ignore. For my birthdays, Olivia's gifts were cheap, sometimes leaving the price tags on, while Harry received expensive watches, trips, or luxurious items. Once, she gave me a knockoff purse that probably cost less than $85. I realized then that this wasn't random, she simply didn't like me. The hardest part was that I didn't speak to Harry about it at first. I didn't know how to explain how painful it felt to be judged and treated like I didn't belong. I'd faced discrimination before, but never from someone I was supposed to have a family connection with, someone I hoped to have a good relationship with. I used to admire Olivia. I wanted to build my own business one day, and hearing about her success genuinely inspired me. My sisters and I studied finance in college, took on student loans, and now have decent jobs. I work in marketing and advertising but dream of starting something of my own. I thought marrying Harry would eventually lead to acceptance from Olivia, but it never did. It grew awkward, and I learned to avoid confrontation. Months after our wedding, I finally told Harry that I felt uncomfortable visiting his mother. She made me feel small, inferior, and I suspected it was all because of my family's financial background and my dad's job. Harry was kind and understanding.
He promised he would speak to his mother, try to clear the air.
He did, but Olivia denied everything, crying and insisting she'd been nothing but warm to me. She said accusing her of being classist was unfair, a claim that felt manipulative and dismissive. I appreciated Harry's effort, but I still felt uneasy. We compromised. Harry would maintain contact with Olivia, while I kept my distance until I felt ready to face her. He didn't cut her off completely, but he subtly pulled away, and I could feel Olivia's silent resentment toward me growing. Marriage didn't give me much choice but to manage the situation. We'd see each other at family gatherings, exchange polite words, and then retreat to our separate spaces. It worked for a while. Then, a few days ago, Olivia texted me at noon, asking me to arrive early at her 50th birthday party. She claimed she wanted to make amends and admitted she had treated me badly in the past. I wanted to believe her, so I agreed to come early. When I arrived, she immediately told me to wait in the kitchen. I was confused, but I obeyed. Later, she entered, recording herself, and introduced me to the wait staff as her housemate, laughing as if it were a harmless joke. Everyone around her looked uncomfortable, but I was mortified. The humiliation cut deep. I ran out, tears blurring my vision, and drove home, feeling utterly alone. I had texted Harry that I was visiting his mother, but he was at work and hadn't seen my message. Alone, I cried myself to sleep. A few hours later, Harry returned and showed me a video Olivia had posted online, the prank she had played on me cut just before my breakdown. She had labeled it a prank gone wrong, but the intent was obvious. I couldn't stop crying. Harry assured me not to worry. He promised to take every possible step to remove the video and to make his mother regret what she had done. She wasn't answering his calls or messages, but he knew she would eventually reach out, curious why he hadn't arrived yet. When Olivia finally called, Harry was ready. "I won't repeat the words," he said, but he was furious, confronting her directly. He ended the call by threatening legal action, demanding accountability for her behavior. Afterward, he repeatedly apologized for not acting sooner when I first expressed discomfort. I didn't blame him initially. I had downplayed the situation, hoping it wasn't serious. And I hadn't told him about other incidents. Harry, not naturally observant, had no way of fully understanding Olivia's cruelty. On the day of the party, I finally told Harry everything that had been festering in my heart. He was furious and insisted I should have shared it sooner, which I agreed with. We discussed it openly, and he contacted his lawyer to explore legal avenues. Unfortunately, there was no recourse for emotional distress since no physical harm had occurred. Still, Harry was determined to act. He didn't want to erase Olivia from our lives, but to teach her a lesson. I could see his anger on my behalf, and I welcomed his support. The next morning, Harry gave Olivia an ultimatum: 3 days to issue a public apology to me and my family, in video form. If she refused, he threatened to expose her behavior to all her business contacts, risking serious damage to her reputation as a successful female entrepreneur. Harry believed Olivia's actions were unworthy of her position, particularly as a woman in business. He understood how severely it could affect her future prospects. Now, we are on the second day of the ultimatum Harry gave to his mother. I am feeling uneasy about the situation because it seems like a form of blackmail. I expressed my concerns to Harry, but he dismissed them, believing this was the only way to make Olivia realize her behavior wasn't acceptable and prevent future issues. Seem uncomfortable with the idea of my husband going after my mother-in-law in this way. Update 1 following. The advice of many of you. I sat down with Harry after he returned from work and shared me concerns. Once again, I explained that while Olivia was clearly in a wrong, I didn't want us to stoop to her level just to make her apologize. I told Harry that an apology forced under these circumstances wouldn't mean anything sincere. I expressed that I didn't want him to go through with his plan to pressure Olivia into apologizing instead. I suggested that he call off the ultimatum and simply tell Olivia to stay away from us. Surprisingly, Harry didn't resist this time. He broke down in tears. It took several minutes of consoling bore. He could explain what was upsetting him. As many of you pointed out, Harry was trying to overcompensate for not taking the situation seriously enough. Initially, he admitted feeling guilty. After watching the video of Olivia's behavior, which has since been deleted, he realized he had been focusing on getting back at his mom rather than truly listening to me and respecting my wishes. Harry acknowledged that he made the same mistake again by not taking my concerns seriously enough. He recognized me submissive nature and admitted he hadn't been listening to me as he should have had a deep conversation about this. Isn't Harry texted Olivia, informing her that an apology wasn't necessary because I no longer wanted any contact with Harry. I'm proud of both of us for handling the situation well and making sure we face the problem together as a team, rather than turning against each other. Harry and I deeply care for each other, which made it difficult for us to discuss our biggest issues. That's why we've decided to seek marriage counseling. I've already started looking into it, and I hope can start working on our marriage within the next week. Our goal is to ensure that such upsetting incidents never happen again. Dealing with this situation has been one of the worst experiences of my life, and I never want to feel the way I did a couple of Disago ever again. I'm relieved that Harry has decided to cut ties with Olivia Bez. I couldn't bear to see her again without feeling an overwhelming urge to confront her about her arrogance. I won't act on it, but I hope someone else does update to a week has passed since Olivia's party and she hadn't reached out to us after Harry called off the ultimatum. We sensed something was brewing because Olivia wasn't the type to let things go so easily. However, as days went by without any contact from her, we started to forget about the situation. Then, today, Olivia unexpectedly wed up at our house with her lawyer. When I answered the door, she walked past me without acknowledging me and called out for Harry to meet her in the living room. It was frustrating because she acted as if she owned the place here during us around in our own home. Harry refused to comply with her demands and told her he didn't want to speak with her right now and asked her to leave with her. Lawyer Olivia persisted, insisting that Harry sit down because he needed to hear what she had to say. He urged Harry to just sit down so we could get over with and get her out of the house. I was prepared to hear her threats or demands if it meant resolving situation quickly. Reluctantly, Harry took his seat on the couch and I sat down beside him to assert our authority in our own home. Despite Olivia staggered for me, she then instructed her lawyer to read out a document outlining her terms. Essentially, the document stated that Olivia wanted Harry to leave, or else she would disinherit him, distributing her assets to other family members, employees, and charities. The doc included a list of properties and assets involved. After the lawyer finished reading Olivia's document, which seemed like an attempt to intimidate Harry, remained unfazed. Harry Aparadune entered, playing with my ring and not paying attention to the list of facets being read out. Once the reading was done, Olivia asked Harry what he planned to do next, emphasizing that if stayed with me, he'd forfeit his inheritance forever. To everyone's surprise, Harry stood up, walked over to his mother and gave her a hug, saying goodbye. Olivia's expression shifted from triumphant to shocked, which made magical contribly finally acknowledging my presence. Olivia snapped at me, hurling insults and calling me names. I chose to ignore her, knowing it would aggravate her further. Harry didn't engage with her either. Instead, he calmly suggested we return to our room to avoid witnessing us mother's escalating M-town, which was becoming embarrassed. We spoke to each other normally, pretending Olivia wasn't there, and headed back to our room to irritate her further. However, Olivia crossed a line by accusing me of being a gold digger, saying she regretted approving our marriage and insinuating that I wasn't interested in Harry's money because me dad was a loser. I didn't argue with her accusations but defended my father's hard work and integrity. I told her that despite her wealth, my husband was rejecting her, which clearly struck a nerve. Today, I made it clear to Olivia that I was not a gold digger but a self-sufficient working woman who didn't rely on my husband's money. I told her she had no basis for her accusations. I then demanded that she leave my house immediately before I called the police to have her escorted out. Eventually she left, but her visit had already left a sore taste in our mouths. While it was an unpleasant experience, at least we managed to assert ourselves and set boundaries. Hopefully Olivia will remember not to meddle with us and leave us alone in the future. Update 3. Hi everyone, I'm back because something terrible happened involving Olivia. About 2 weeks had passed since her last visit and Harry and I thought the chapter was finally over. However, I just received a call from my parents an hour ago and they told me Olivia paid them a visit and it wasn't good. Olivia barged into their house and insulted them, calling them terrible parents who raised a gold-digging and conniving person like me. She said hurtful things about me, but what's most upsetting is how she attacked my prince. Olivia told my mother that if she had been a better parent who spent more time at home raising us instead of working, maybe we would have turned out better. She also insulted my dad again for his profession, implying that his daughters were as dirty as the trash. He cleaned up. My parents were almost in tears recounting what Olivia said, and I couldn't contain my anger. I'm currently at work, unable to do anything, but one seemed done for the day. I'm heading straight to Olivia's house to confront her. She needs to be put in her place for disrespecting my parents in their own home. I texted Harry about the situation, but he's busy with work and hasn't replied yet. I don't necessarily want him to come with me, but I've informed him so won't be caught off guard if Olivia reaches out to him upset about our confrontation. Update 4. Hi everyone, I'm back after confronting Olivia at her house a few hours ago, and let me tell you, it was incredibly satisfying to let her have it. When I arrived, Olivia smirked as she opened the door, but I lost my temper right then and there. I pushed past her and went inside, intending to know if she had visited my prince and said those awful things She admitted aided to it, looking pleased with herself, which only fueled my anger. I yelled at her loudly, calling her a hypocrite and a failure as a mother for not prioritizing Harry's happiness over her own selfish desires. I even made a harsh comment about her deceased husband, which made her start crying. I continued berating her for several minutes until it ran out of steam. Seeing her breakdown was oddly satisfying after all the pain she caused me and my family. After leaving Olivia's house, I returned home and Harry came back shortly after he had left work early, assuming I'd be at Olivia's, but by the time he arrived, I had already left. When he entered Olivia's house, he found her crying on the couch. Knowing that I had confronted her, Harry surprised me by expressing pride in me for standing up for myself and not allowing anyone to walk over me. He hugged me, apologized for his mother's behavior toward my parents, and then told me that he had a final conversation with Olivia. He made it clear that we would have no further contact with her, and that we pursue our restraining order if she bothered us again. When Harry asked Olivia about what I had said, she expected him to defend her and criticize me, but Harry disappointed her by standing by my side. Explained that he supported me because I was right and had never intentionally hurt Olivia, unlike her treatment of me. Harry walked out of Olivia's house despite her protests, affirming his commitment to me. We're still attending marriage counseling and things are going well. Now we know we have each other's backs forever, which is all I ever really wanted.